I think the stream is probably already starting. We should probably cut straight over to what's broadcasting right now at the DNC itself. Ben? We will be doing that shortly. Again, if your headlights are on, we really need them to be turned off or we're not going to be able to see the screen. So whatever you can do to try to get those headlights off would be great. And we're queuing it up. Okay, we're going to join the convention in progress here.
With liberty and justice for all.
This time next year, I want to see Joe Biden in the Oval Office.
Hello, America. I'm Andrew Yang. You might know me as the guy who ran for president talking about math and the future. Unfortunately for all of us, that future is now. The pandemic has accelerated everything. If you're like me and my wife, Evelyn, you don't know if your child's school is going to reopen this fall. 72% of Americans believe that this is the worst time we have ever experienced. And 42% of the jobs that have been lost, millions of jobs, will never return. We are in a deep, dark hole, and we need leaders who will help us dig out. I know many politicians promise and then fail to deliver. If you voted for Trump or didn't vote at all back in 2016, I get it. Many of us have gotten tired of our leaders seeming far removed from our everyday lives, and we despair that our government will ever rise to the challenges of our time. But we must give this country, our country, a chance to recover. And recovery is only possible with a change of leadership and new ideas. Bold and innovative policies that will get help into your hands in the midst of this crisis are now possible. But we need your help to turn the page for our country in 75 days. We are here tonight to celebrate Joe Biden's nomination as the Democratic candidate for president. I have gotten to know both Joe and Kamala on the trail over the past year. The way you really get to know a person when the cameras are off, the crowds are gone, it's just you and them. They're real people. They understand the problems we face. They are parents and patriots who want the best for us and our country. And if we give them the chance, they will fight for us and our families every single day. Our future is now, and it is daunting. But I ask you tonight to join me to help Joe and Kamala fight for the promise of America, turn the page for our country, and lead us forward to a future we'll actually be proud to leave to our children. And now I'd like to turn it over to a great Democrat who will be with us throughout the evening. Between the two of us, we have 11 Emmys. How's that for math? One of my favorite actresses, Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Hey, Julia.
Hi, Andrew. I'm so glad to see you. So what did you think about Kamala Harris's speech last night?
It was tremendous. I was so happy for her.
I know, me too. She was fabulous. I cannot wait to see her debate our current vice president, Mika Pince. Or is it Paints?
It's pronounced Ponce, I believe.
Oh, some kind of weird foreign name?
Yeah, not very American sounding.
Yeah, that's what people are saying. Strongly. Well, thank you, Andrew. And please give my regards to the gang.
I will. They're right in the next room. Have a great night, Julia.
Thank you so much. Good evening, America, and welcome to the fourth night of the 2020 Democratic National Convention, Uniting America. Okay, these last few nights have been going so well, we've decided to add a fifth night where we will just play Michelle Obama's speech on a loop. I first met Joe Biden when I was doing my show, Veep. I played the vice president, and he was, in fact, the vice president, and we hit it off immediately. Soon after, I was asked to be on the cover of a magazine. Remember those? And I was so excited. It was like, oh, what's it going to be? People or Vogue or Rolling Stone? Well, it turns out it was for Arrive, the official onboard magazine of Amtrak, which nobody ever reads, even though it's free. And the day it came out, my phone rang, And it was the vice president telling me he loved the cover and the whole article, and that it was one of the best issues of Arrive he had ever read. And that is just one of the many reasons that I wanted to be here tonight for Joe. And to remind you that Joe Biden not only knows how to read, but also he reads everything. You know, I am no policy expert, and I certainly don't pretend to be one, but I have a gut feeling about fairness and what's right, and that is why I am so excited that just in a little while we're going to hear from Joe Biden about his plans for America, plans for a strong economy that helps working people and small businesses, not just billionaires, and plans to raise the wages for the nurses and teachers and grocery workers that are getting us through this crisis. God love them. So, how can you help Joe? It's super simple. Vote. Right now, you can text VOTE to 30330 to learn about all of your voting options and make the best plan for how to vote in your community, wherever you are. An easy way to remember 30330 is that's the year Donald Trump will finally release his tax returns. If we all vote, there is nothing Facebook, Fox News, and Vladimir Putin can do to stop us. But first, let's reaffirm the all-American values that our party and Joe Biden stand for.
This time, do it while you're smiling, okay?
All right, ready? And action.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Awesome. Cut it. He needs an agent.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we've watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Good evening. I'm Sister Simone Campbell, Executive Director of Network and leader of Nuns on the Bus.
Hi, my name is Lily Schechter, and I'm chair of the Harris County Democratic Party. Thank you so much for coming to our drive-in event tonight. We are so excited to see Vice President Biden accept the nomination, and we hope you enjoy the show.
Hey, everybody. Just cutting in to talk about our sponsors here. Thank you so much to all of you for being such an important part of what we do here at the Harris County Democratic Party. We are excited for this event. We're excited for everybody to be here. We're just cutting in, and we're going to be showing a few videos and from our elected officials and sponsors to bring it home so everybody remembers, while the national picture is very important and we want to make sure that we're getting Donald Trump out of office, what we are really excited about doing here, hey everybody, is making sure we get the rest of our local Democratic officials across the finish line. And that, starts with you coming out and helping and making phone calls and sending postcards and sending text messages. So thank you all so much for coming. Again, I want to, thank our sponsors. Make sure that we are, giving credit where credit's due. So, Gina Kalani, Judge Daryl Jordan, Garnett Coleman, John Rosenthal, who's over here in this red car. If you want to flash your lights a little bit, Representative, there he is. Natalie Hurtado for 126, Nata Cornelio for Judge, Tiavia Bell for Judge, Michael Gomez, Ravi Sandhill, Mike Englehart, Jane Robinson, superstar sponsors, Judge Leslie Bionis, Frederica Phillips, Ursula Hall, Julia Maldonado. Thank you, judges, so much for everything that you do. So I think we can go ahead and cut to a video. If we can cue up maybe Judge Sandhill? Robbie Sandhill?
Good evening, Harris County Democrats.
Quick message from
I'm Judge Ravi Sandhill, Judge of the
Robbie
127th Civil District Court. It's been my pleasure and honor to serve as your judge for the last 12 years. This November 3rd, I'm looking for re-election, and I'm excited about that. But tonight, we're here to do something very, very significant. We're here to nominate Vice President Joe Biden and Senator Kamala Harris, the first ever woman of color to serve on a national ticket. We have 75 days from today to get ready for that November 3rd election. And I want you, and I'll be with you when we phone bank, we text, and we reach out to our neighbors. So help us flip the State House in Texas and elect Democrats from the White House to the courthouse. Let's go get this done, Harris County, and let's go blue.
Woo!
Hi there, Democrats. As you all know, I'm Mike Englehart, Judge of the 151st Civil District Court. I'm proud to be a mega superstar sponsor of this super fun Lights, Camera, Vote Biden event, where we watch our next president accept the 2020 Democratic presidential nomination. I remember the last time I was at a drive-in theater a couple of years ago. I went to the ticket guy and I said, 4 tickets for that new Star Wars movie. He said, Solo. I said, no, I just said 4 tickets. And speaking of Star Wars, do you know who the president was when the first Star Wars movie came out in 1977? It was Jimmy Carter, the last Democrat to win the great state of Texas in the general election. And in 75 days, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are going to do it again with your hard work and by voting to the bottom of the ballot. So have a great time tonight, and thanks again to Lily Schechter and all the great staff at the Harris County Democratic Party. I'm Mike Englehart, Judge of the 151st Civil District Court, and may the force be with you.
Hi, I'm Judge Leslie Briones. I am grateful to be your judge of Harris County Civil Court at Law Number 4. As a Latina, a wife, a mother of 3 daughters, former public school teacher, and as your current judge, I am ready for November. This election is about equal justice for all. This election is about equal opportunity for all. And this election is about what we stand for as a nation. Together, we can and will do this. Juntos podemos. Adelante hasta noviembre, onward to November.
As Democrats, what are we fighting for? For the workers, for the dreamers, and asylum seekers, for the mothers, fathers, sons, and daughters, for those with disabilities, for seniors, for healthcare, for the planet, for our bodies, for equality, for love, for education, for safer schools, neighborhoods, and communities, for a secure retirement, for opportunity, for a fair wage, for veterans and Gold Star families, for the forgotten, for our values, for truth, for progress, for our democracy, for our country, for our future. We are the party of the people. We are Democrats.
Thanks again for joining us. I think what we're going to do now is we're going to do a couple recaps, while they are still, going through some of the other things during the convention to bring it home. You could see what you missed, or if you missed a couple nights, we got some quick recaps of what went on the last couple nights that we'll feed into. So with that.
We the people of the United States.
We the people call the 48th Quadrennial Democratic National Convention to order.
George had a giving spirit, a spirit that has shown up on streets around our nation and around the world.
We know that our problems go beyond the COVID virus. COVID is the symptom, not the illness. Americans learned a critical lesson, how vulnerable we are when we are divided.
I'm one of the many who has lost a loved one to COVID. My dad, his only pre-existing condition was trusting Donald Trump, and for that, he paid with his life.
I will work with progressives, with moderates, and yes, with conservatives to preserve this nation from a threat that so many of our heroes fought and died to defeat. I know that Joe Biden will begin that fight on day one.
When others are going so low, does going high still really work? My answer, going high is the only thing that works. But let's be clear, going high does not mean putting on a smile and saying nice things when confronted by viciousness and cruelty. It means scraping and clawing our way to that mountaintop. We have to vote for Joe Biden in numbers that cannot be ignored.
Hey everybody, we're going to cut
second
back in.
night of the Democratic National Convention.
Right now, we wanted to cut back into
This year's choice could not be
show her
more.
speaking.
To changed America, and so can we. The baton has now been passed to each of us. We've cried out for justice. We have gathered in our streets to demand change. And now we must pass on the gift John Lewis sacrificed to give us. We must register and we must vote. In his parting essay written to us, Congressman Lewis expressed his pride in the activism that has swept our country. And he reminded us that if we fail to exercise our right to vote, we can lose it. There are those who are disgracefully using this pandemic to spread misinformation and interfere with voting, forcing many in 2020 to still risk their lives to exercise their sacred right to vote that has already been paid for with the blood, sweat, tears, and lives of so many. So let's stand up for our children, our children. Children's children, and for this great democracy that our ancestors worked to build. And let's vote. And let's organize to get others to vote with us. You can help make this happen by texting VOTE to 30330. We know how important it is that we elect real leaders like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, people of honor and integrity who hold justice close to their hearts and believe that the lives of my 4 Black children matter. In the words of womanist poet Audre Lorde, your silence will not protect you. Congressman Lewis would not be silenced, and neither can we. We cannot wait for some other time, some other place, some other heroes. We must be the heroes of our generation because we too are America. Our votes can be our voice.
With something deep down within me, moving me, that I could no longer be satisfied or go along with an evil system.
Life was extremely dangerous when we were growing up. John Lewis had the respect of everybody because he was the one who demonstrated the most courage. He'd been beaten and knocked down and get up and go to find another battle. John was focused on ending voter suppression, and it wasn't that he was a great orator, it's that he was a great spirit. The power of spirituality and humility, and the willingness to suffer rather than to inflict suffering.
One of the things that John has taught us is that, yeah, you may have to sacrifice, but if you're sacrificing for a cause, something bigger than you, and you really believe in it, then you will have people following you.
We do not get meaningful legislation out of this Congress. We will march through the South, through the streets of Jackson, through the streets of Danville, through the streets of Cambridge, through the streets of Birmingham.
I think he is the singular figure that has tried to carry out the work of our nonviolent campaigns into the halls of Congress.
From day one, John Lewis was a role model for the members of Congress, whether they were freshmen or here a long time, because he brought with him a kind of heft, a weightiness of purpose.
I got arrested a few times during the 60s. 40 times. And since I've been in Congress, another 5 times. The means by which we struggle must be consistent with the end we seek.
Someone who has navigated thorny issues of policy, not by castigating alone, but by also encouraging people to be better than they think they can be.
Today we are considering a fair housing measure which not only protects our nation's minorities, but it protects the needs of those with disabilities and families with children. How long do we have to wait before we decide to ban assault weapons? We have another opportunity to bring more of our citizens into political participation. I have on my marching shoes. That's right. I'm fired up. I'm ready to march.
And all of these decades later, while he and others of his generation achieved much, we're still fighting against police brutality and fighting for our voting rights. And so we best honor him by continuing to fight the good fights that he fought, by staying in good trouble.
together, let's fight. Fight for what's right. No matter how long or how dark the night.
We will create a beloved community. We will redeem the soul of America. As a nation and as a people, we will get there.
Climb to the mountain top, and one day we'll win. One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours. It will be ours. Oh, one day, when the war is won, we will be sure. We will be sure. Oh, glory. Glory. Glory.
Hands to the heavens, no man, no weapon formed against. Yes, glory is destined. Every day women and men become legends. Sins that go against our skin become blessings. The movement is a rhythm to us. Freedom is like religion to us. Justice is juxtaposition in us. Justice for all just ain't specific enough. One son died, his spirit is revisiting us. True and living in us. Resistance is us. That's why Rosa sat on the bus. That's why we walk through America with our hands up. When it go down, we woman and man up. They say stay down, and we stand up. Shots we on the ground, the camera panned up. King pointed to the mountaintop, and we ran up.
One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours. It will be ours. Oh, one day, when the war is won, we will be sure. We will be sure. Oh, glory. Glory. Oh. It's all done. We'll cry glory, oh glory, oh glory, glory. We'll cry glory, oh glory,
glory. Sound is now for every man, woman, and child. Even Jesus got his crown in front of a crowd. They march with the torch, we gon' run with it now. Never look back, we done gone hundreds of miles. From dark roads, heroes, to become a hero. Facing the League of Justice, power was the people. Enemy is lethal, a king became regal. Saw the face of Jim Crow under a bald eagle. The biggest weapon is to stay peaceful. We sing, our music is the cuts that we bleed through. Somewhere in a dream we had an epiphany. Now we right the wrongs in history. No one can win a war individually. It takes the wisdom of the elders, young people's energy. Welcome to the story we call victory. The coming of the Lord, my eyes have seen the glory.
One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours.
It's ours.
It will be ours. Oh, one day, when the war is won, we will be sure.
So sure.
We will be sure.
So sure to the world.
Glory.
God be the
glory. Oh, yeah, yeah. Glory. Oh, glory. Glory. Oh, glory. Glory. When the war is won, glory. When it's all
That was so beautiful, John and Common. Wow. Joe Biden shares John Lewis's belief that every vote matters. Personally, I plan to follow the example of 6 current cabinet members, Vice President Pence, and President Trump himself, and vote by mail. To find out everything you need to know about mail-in ballots, your polling place, or even just, am I registered? Text VOTE to 30330. 30330. That would be the president's golf score if he didn't cheat. Okay, look, I'll admit that was a little nasty, but we all know he's a cheater. And I'm proud to be a nasty, nasty woman. You know, when Donald Trump spoke at his inauguration about American carnage, I assumed that was something he was against, not a campaign promise. What we need now is great leadership, someone experienced and hardworking and intelligent, someone who understands the soul of the American people.
I'm historian John Meacham. In his final Sunday sermon, Days.
Thank you, Harris County Democratic Party, for allowing me the opportunity to address you today. And hello, Harris County. I am Geraldine Maynard, and I'm your Democratic nominee for judge of the 80th District Civil Court of Harris County, Texas. I will bring with me over 18 years of legal experience by helping those most vulnerable in our society. I have decided now is the time to serve our community in a judicial capacity. I plan to serve with humility and honor. I will afford all those who appear before me courtesy, respect, and fairness. This year marks the 100-year anniversary of women's suffrage. We have a strong field of women in 2020 up and down the ballot. The Democratic Party is the most diverse and inclusive party with people from all backgrounds ready to lead us into the future. Early voting starts October 13th. Let's aim to vote before October 27th. If you mail in your vote, request your ballot now and send it back immediately. Please be safe during this pandemic. Again, my name is Geraldine Maynard, and I am running for judge of the 80th District Court in Harris County. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here with us this evening. My name is Julia Maldonado, and I am your judge of the 507 Family District Court here in Harris County. Today, this election is a historical election. We had never had so many voters so energized, and let's continue to be that way. Please remember that we no longer have a straight ticket voting here in Texas. So therefore, when you go to the polls, please remember to vote from the top of the ticket to the bottom of the ticket, especially since the 507th is towards the bottom of the ticket. Again, my name is Julia Maldonado, and I am your judge of the 507th. I am also your administrative judge for the Family Law Division here in Harris County. I am your senior court judge for the family courts also, which means that I am the judge that has been there the longest in the family courts. Please remember how important it is to go out and vote. And please also remember that the early voting begins October 13. So bring your neighbors, your brothers, your sisters, everyone that you can think out to vote. Let's get energized. Let's do this, Harris County. I know we can do it. So please remember, vote Julia Maldonado, 507 Family District Court. Thank you very much for being here with us.
Hello, this is Cheryl Elliott Thornton, your Democratic nominee for the 164th Judicial District Court, joining you at this exciting and historic time by celebrating our next president, Joe Biden, and our next vice president, Kamala Harris. Only the Democratic Party can deliver such a diverse and progressive ticket. But this great party can't deliver on the promise of tomorrow without your support, and most importantly, your vote. So I thank you for your support in the Democratic primary election and the runoff election, where you showed your overwhelming candidacy for judge of the 164th Judicial District Court. Now I'm asking that all Democrats go out and support not just the top of the ticket, but remember those of us at the local level. We are way at the bottom of the ballot, but Democrats like me, Cheryl Elliott Thornton, are there and needing your support. Remember, all politics is local. All local decisions made by judges like me, who are your neighbors and your friends, impact all of us directly. Let's continue to make Harris County blue and vote from the top of the ticket to the bottom. Go Democrat.
One of hope.
Hi, my name is
of
Natalia
love,
Cornelio, and
of
I'm your
justice.
proud Democratic
If we
nominee
do so,
for the
we might
351st
just save
District
our country
Court. Hola,
and our
soy
souls.
Natalia Cornelio, tu candidata para juez
Good
de la
evening.
Corte
I'm
351.
Congresswoman Deb Holland. I'm
a
grateful to be
Mexican-American
with you
civil rights
here
attorney and a
on
former
Indigenous
public
land.
defender.
The
I've
promise of
represented
this
hundreds of
country is older than our
individuals who
Constitution.
could not afford their
Over
own
500
attorney
years ago,
at a time when they
thousands of
most
Indian
needed
tribes
an
were
attorney.
vibrant democratic
I bring a commitment to
societies
equal
with rich
justice under
cultures
the
and
law, and
traditions
that's what we need.
in
A
communities
system that
have
does not
sustained them for
discriminate based on
millennia. Respected. My people, the Pueblo Indians, migrated to the Rio Grande Valley in the late 1200s to escape droughts. We were led to the great river and its tributaries, where we established an agricultural tradition that continues to this day. My people survived centuries of slavery, genocide, and brutal assimilation policies, but throughout our past, tribal nations have fought for and helped build this country. There were those like my Laguna grandparents who worked on our country's railroad, and those like my mother, a Navy veteran who served this country with honor. I stand here today, a proud 35th generation New Mexican and one of the first Native American women ever elected to Congress. I'm a symbol of our resilience as the embodiment of America's progress as a nation. I know we can't take our democracy for granted, especially now as people are dying, as our land is abused, as our Constitution is under attack. We must work for it by getting involved, by registering voters, by voting. Voting is sacred. My people know that. We weren't universally granted the right to vote until 1962, and that fundamental right is more important than ever. Whether your ancestors have been here for hundreds of years or you're a new citizen, know this: whether we vote and how we vote will determine if our nation's promise of social, racial, and environmental justice will outlast us. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris respect our past and understand our present. They will see us through this crisis of leadership that is plaguing our country, and they will help us to build a better future. Thank you.
The first year that I voted was 1974.
1967.
I have not missed a general or a primary election in my 51-year voting history.
Now I don't go to the polls anymore. The U.S. Postal Service does it for me.
And now we're seeing our current president sabotage our right to vote, sabotaging democracy by trying to undo the postal system.
My father worked for the Postal Service for 30 years.
My mother worked for that local post office for 10 years. That job enabled her to feed her family.
I am appalled at what the Republicans and the president are trying to do to subvert the vote.
Nothing or no one will stop me from voting this election.
We need to keep our mail system. We need Joe Biden.
Where are they going? Where are these ballots going? Who's getting them? Who is not getting them? A little section that's Republican. Will they be stolen from mailboxes as they get put in by the mailman? Will they be taken from the mailmen and the mailwomen? Will they be forged? Who is signing them? Who's signing them? What, are they signed at a kitchen table and sent in? Will they be counterfeited by groups inside our nation? Will they be counterfeited maybe by the millions by foreign powers.
Let me put this in my own words. I've heard Donald Trump say some pretty unhinged things. I've heard them over and over and over again. But nothing is more dangerous to our democracy than his attacks on mail-in voting during a pandemic. Okay, here's the truth. Donald Trump doesn't want any of us to vote because he knows he can't win fair and square. So whether you plan to vote by mail or in person wearing your mask, it is your vote and it's your right. Don't let Donald Trump take that away from you. For accurate, up-to-date voting information that you can trust, text VOTE to 30330. One more time, text VOTE to 30330.
I'm Alex Padilla, California Secretary of State.
And I'm Jocelyn Benson, the Secretary of State of Michigan.
Voting is the oxygen of our democracy. It decides elections, and elections change lives. That's why we've seen so many attacks on our right to vote, including many that specifically target working families, young people, and communities of color.
Secretaries of State are responsible for running fair, accessible, secure elections where every vote is counted and every voice is heard. We serve on the front lines defending our democracy against any and all attacks, foreign and domestic.
So let's talk about this election. Despite what he says, Donald Trump can't cancel it. But he and Republicans are making it too hard for so many to cast their ballots. And now he's attacking vote by mail to distract and confuse voters.
And let's be clear, there is absolutely zero difference between voting by mail and voting absentee. Millions of Americans have been voting absentee for decades. Donald Trump, his family, his staff, they all vote by mail. In fact, in states like Colorado, Utah, and Oregon, voters have been voting by mail for years. Republicans and Democrats agree it is safe.
But now Trump has admitted he's trying to sabotage the post office to undermine voting by mail. And we're not going to let him do that. Our job is to make sure everyone can vote safely, whether in person or by mail. And your job is to make sure you vote.
And there's more. Once you've done that, talk to your friends and neighbors. Spread the word. Tell everyone you know to text VOTE to 30330 for more voting options. If you're planning to vote from home, request and return your ballot early. And remind everyone you know to make a plan to vote.
Don't let anyone keep you from exercising your most sacred right. Make your plan to vote. Grab your mask and head to the polls the first day they're open. Or request your ballot and send it in right away. And know this, election results may take a little longer this year, but Democrats will fight to make sure your ballot is counted.
Because at the end of the day, the biggest role in preserving our democracy isn't ours, it's yours.
Hi, my name is Natalia Cornelio, and I'm your proud Democratic nominee for the 351st District Court. Hola, soy Natalia Cornelio, tu candidata para juez de la Corte 351. I'm a Mexican-American civil rights attorney and a former public defender. I've represented hundreds of individuals who could not afford their own attorney at a time when they most needed an attorney. I bring a commitment to equal justice under the law, and that's what we need. A system that does not discriminate based on race, class, ethnicity, immigration status, or gender identity. I'm so proud to be part of a diverse and progressive slate of candidates from the top of the ticket all the way down to the bottom. Together, individually and collectively, we will bring Harris County the change that we deserve and that we desperately need. So to remember on November 3rd or during early voting to vote from the top of the ticket all the way down to the bottom for Democrats. Thank you.
Hello, this is Elaine Palmer, your candidate for judge of the 215th Civil District Court. I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you and what an honor it has been to serve as your judge of the 215th for the past 8 years. When I first ran 8 years ago, I promised I wanted to bring dignity, respect, and a level playing field for all parties and litigants in the 215th Court. We still have a lot more work to do. And I am excited to think how we can advance Harris County and continue to serve as your judge of the 215th Court for another 4 years. This is without question the most important election of our lifetimes. This is truly a team effort, and we will only win if everyone does their part. The most precious resource in this election is us and our time. Let us use it to mobilize the biggest Democratic electorate in Harris County history. While we gather tonight to celebrate the nomination of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris at the top of the ticket, don't forget that the races at the bottom of the ballot are the ones that are closest to home. So when you are talking to voters, be sure to tell them, vote Democrat from start to finish. Thank you.
Joe and Kamala in the White House will raise the minimum wage so no one who works a full-time job in America lives in poverty. Together, we'll fight for those who keep us healthy, who keep us safe, who teach our children. We'll stand for those who cook and serve and clean, who plant and harvest, who pack, and always those who deliver, whose hands are thick with calluses, like my granddad's were, who lifted me high, who held mine when I was a boy. If he was alive, Joe and Kamala, he would be so proud of you. And he'd tell us, take another by the hand and another, and let's get to work. This dream ain't free, you gotta work for it. So like his generation, up and out of the Depression, let's now work together and stand together. And America, together, we will rise.
This is my team. You guys build America, not Wall Street. Unions build America.
That's right. The Americans just want to live meekly comfortable. I've got a wife that works as well. We've got a 17 and a 7-year-old at home, and we're still working, thanks to our International Executive Board for getting with General Motors and making sure that it's safe for us to return back to work after 8 weeks of being laid off. I mean, it's a hoax at one point, and now here we are full blown.
Yep. Well, I tell you what, the future of auto workers in America, and I really believe this, can be as bright as it was back in the late 40s, 50s.
Yes.
Simple reason. It's an iconic industry. It's an American industry. We made it. We made it.
Yes. Thank you.
It's been a very interesting 2020. I've been in the fire service 16 years and never experienced anything like COVID. We had to change our whole tactics, the way we did our day-to-day. And now at a hurricane that just came in 2 weeks ago, and we were almost right on the eye. And I mean, we were doing things we never thought we'd be doing. Water rescues with masks on, having to worry about COVID. It was interesting.
How's your family doing?
Well, I'm a single dad. I have a almost 5-year-old who's in my world. And I'm very lucky that my parents are retired. My mom actually retired right after my daughter was born to help us with her. And she was so looking forward to pre-K, going to the big school, like she says. And then unfortunately, all this COVID came in, and now it's all going to be online schooling, which I'm fortunate. I have my parents, but I do have a lot of guys that are double income families, and they're just trying to figure out how they're going to do it with their kids. What arrangements are they going to have to make since they're not going to be going to school? It's going to be online.
It's 2 people in my household. I have a family of 2, and we have grown-up kids that are no longer in the household. But it takes 2 people to build. We have an ongoing goal of a 5-year goal of buying a house in the next 5 years. So hopefully we'll save.
Look, everybody, you talked about the middle class. The fact is that the way middle class people generate wealth overwhelmingly is building up equity in their home. And that's what gets passed on from one generation to the next, the equity in a home.
The middle class is continuously taking hits, and one of the reasons why we're on this call is we realize how important it is to have you in the White House. We need a comprehensive energy policy for renewable resources, which I know you have one. And if we're going to build the middle class, it's about the jobs.
The future really rests on investment. We're going to be investing $2 trillion in infrastructure, ports, bridges, highways, making sure that we have access to do things that really make a difference. like what you're doing that solar facility outside of Harrisburg. You know, I'm a Scranton boy. You know, central Pennsylvania is okay, but, you know, northeast. So keep the faith, guys.
All right.
Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
so much.
You know,
We
American workers can
appreciate
count on
you.
you.
I know it's not typical for a former Surgeon General to speak at a convention. Surgeons General are appointed by presidents, but our work isn't about politics. Our highest duty is to the public. Our true guide is science, and our job is to speak the truth about public health, even when it's controversial or perceived as political. So here's the truth. Our nation absolutely has what it takes to overcome the COVID-19 pandemic that's claimed tens of thousands of our loved ones. We have the talent, resources, and technology. What we're missing is leadership. We need a leader who works with states to ensure that everyone who needs a test gets one and gets results quickly. A leader who secures a safe, effective vaccine and distributes it quickly and fairly. A leader who inspires us to practice distancing and wear masks, not as a political statement, but as a patriotic duty, a commitment we make to one another. That's why I'm here tonight, not because of politics or for party, but because I know Joe Biden can be that leader. I've worked with Joe Biden. I've seen who he is with no cameras around, how he sits with people in their pain and holds them in his heart, how he pores over COVID briefings, asking smart questions, letting science guide his way, just as he did when managing the Ebola crisis. And 6 years ago, when Joe Biden met my family, many of them immigrants awed to be in the nation's capital, I saw how he kneeled beside my grandmother's wheelchair, took her hands in his, and said, "Thank you for choosing us, the United States of America, as the place to trust with your family." Tonight, as a father, son, and grandson, as a doctor who swore an oath, and as an American who loves my country, I can tell you that Joe Biden is the man I trust to look out for my family and the leader I know will heal this nation.
Good afternoon, Democrats. Buenas tardes, Demócratas. My name is Veronica Rivas Molloy, and I'm so proud to be your nominee for Justice, First Court of Appeals, Place 3. I am running because I love what I do, because I want to serve our community, and because I believe that it is important for our judiciary to reflect the community that it serves. After 20 years of practicing law throughout the state of Texas and beyond, I know that I have the experience to be an excellent justice on the Court of Appeals and to make a meaningful contribution to our judicial system. As an immigrant to this country, and as a mother of 3 young sons, this election could not be more important, not just because I am on the ballot, but because I know that our children's future and the course of our nation depend on it. I know that as a Democrat, this election is crucially important for you as well. Thank you for all of your hard work this election cycle. I know that each and every one of you have worked so hard. We are so close and the finish line is within sight. In just 60 days, the first vote will be cast in the general election. Now is the time to double down on our efforts. Register to vote, get the vote out, and volunteer if you can. Now is the time for us to continue working hard so that our collective voices as Democrats is heard loud and clear on November 3rd, not just in Harris County, but throughout the country. I cannot wait to celebrate with you on November 3rd, and I cannot wait until our collective voice is the voice that changes the course of our nation. Gracias a todos.
Hello, Democrats. This is Judge Kyle Carter, the 125th District Court, saying thank you for the honor and privilege to serve you all as judge. I've been serving you the last 11 years and treating everyone who comes before me with equality, dignity, and respect. We've got an election coming up soon, and it's important that everyone starts to work now. So please pick up a phone, knock on a door, mail a postcard, get your neighbor, get everyone out to vote who can vote in this community to make Harris County and Texas the best place to live, work, and raise a family. The road to a blue Texas starts in Harris County, and this is the first election where you can't vote straight ticket. ticket. So it's important that everyone vote down ballot. So be down, vote down, and get down. Vote for Judge Kyle Carter of the 125th District Court, and vote for your next president of the United States of America, and Joe Biden. Thank you very much.
Howdy, y'all. I'm John Rosenthal. I'm the Texas State Representative for House District 135 in Northwest Houston. And I'm your Freshman of the Year in the Texas State House as selected by the Legislative Study Group. And I'm just here to thank everybody, thank Democrats for helping out, and to say now is the time to volunteer to talk to voters. You know, early voting starts in just 8 weeks, and we need to tell people this is I think people know, it's the most important election of our lifetimes. And the straight ticket ballot is gone. So we got to tell people, don't stop, vote that ballot blue from the bottom to the top. Blue wave in Texas starts right here in Harris County. We're ground zero. And if we want more quality freshmen, if we want to take over the Texas House, people need to get out and vote in good numbers, and tell them, don't stop, from the bottom to the top, vote blue. Thank y'all so much. I'm John Rosenthal, Texas State Representative, House District 135.
The only thing that can tear America apart is America itself, and we cannot let that happen.
If you want to help Joe and Kamala make sure that America stays strong and united, please go to joebiden.com and contribute anything that you possibly can. Tonight, I couldn't be prouder to be a loyal union member, a passionate climate activist, and a patriotic Democrat, or as Donald Trump will call me in a tweet tomorrow, a washed-up horse-faced, no-talent has-been with low ratings. Well, with all due respect, sir, it takes one to know one. And now I'd like to introduce you to a real American hero, World War II veteran Ed Good.
I am Edward.
Hi, I'm Gina Kalani, and I represent Texas House District 132. If you look right over here, that covers Katy, Cypress, and a little bit of West Houston. We moved to the district back in 2012 with my boys, specifically for the public schools. And it was after 2016 with several discussions that they encouraged me to run for office based upon the lack of funding that was happening in public education, among a bunch of other things that were topics at our dinner table. So I went ahead and put my name on the ballot. I won the seat by 113 votes. First woman to ever hold the seat for 132, and it's been a fantastic, incredible ride so far. I've been completely honored to be your voice in the Texas House. We passed 11 bills during the 86th session, more than any other freshman Democrat, but most important to compare is that we passed 11 bills in one session in the minority party that the guy I beat passed in two sessions in the majority party. And his bills were hurtful bills. They were bills that were just filled with voter suppression. Whereas my concern is getting people to the polls. We want to make sure that everybody gets an opportunity to vote and have their voices heard, which is so important that we take the Texas House in 2021 for redistricting, because we want to ensure that we have got fair maps to where the voters get to choose their elected officials, non-elected officials drawing where they want their voters to be. So that's really important. I'm looking forward to that day where we walk in on January 12th and say, welcome to my house. That's going to be fantastic. So I'm really hopeful about what's going to happen come November 3rd. We have got 54 days until early voting, 75 days until that big night, and hopefully it's filled with lots of blue and a new vision for our country and this state, and I'm so excited about it. I hope we can count on your support. We need help phone banking, texting, putting signs in people's yards. Anything you can do to help out, we really appreciate. We need everybody hands on deck to get us across the finish line, so that way come November 3rd, we have a real landslide and we can do it together. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Alan Rosen, and it has been my distinct honor to serve as your constable of Harris County Precinct 1. Since taking office, my focus, in addition to keeping you safe, was taking the lead in building bridges between law enforcement and the communities we protect. Now is the time to make your vote your voice. Now is the time, as we have another opportunity to make history, as we have a woman at the top of our ticket. It is always time for diversity and inclusion, and to join the party by uniting America. Now listen up. As a great author once said, beginning in itself has no value. It is an end to which makes beginning meaningful. We must end what we began and vote all the way down the ballot in November.
I want to share this story with you. In his daughter's class, it was a Christmas program, and they were playing the Ave Maria. And one of the little girls burst into tears. And the teacher ran over and said, "What's the matter? What's the matter?" And she said, "That's the song they played at my daddy's funeral. He died in the war." The teacher had no idea that that little girl's father had fought in the war and had died. And that night I said to my staff, "I'm a teacher. We can do better. We've got to do better to help our military kids."
The Bidens have a track record of helping military families, and we've seen it with their work that they've done with joining forces and how they were able to, rally a country behind us.
Men and women we send to war to defend our nation. Families while they're gone, and care for them and their families when they come home.
It was the very first time that I, as a military spouse, felt like someone was listening to us and someone cared.
It's not just the service member who serves, the entire family serves as well. Joe said we have one sacred obligation to take care of our military members. During this pandemic, for sure, so many veterans have lost their jobs. So many military spouses have lost their jobs. That's one of the things that will be a priority in a Biden administration. We will make sure that all Americans have health care, employment, the things that families need to thrive.
When people show you who they are, believe them the first time, and we know exactly who Joe is. He is the best candidate for America, not just for our families, but for all families.
Hi, I'm Carol Alvarado, State Senator from District 6. I know tonight we're all gathered, we're chill, we're relaxed, we're watching, we're ready to listen to our next president accept the nomination for President of the United States, Joe Biden, and we have got a wonderful team. I am so thrilled and excited about Kamala Harris being our next Vice President. But we know that the road to turning Texas blue starts right here in Harris County. You see, Texas has not voted Democrat in a general presidential election since 1976. I say that's too long. We can do better because we want to build back better and get the soul of America back. So let's make sure that people that are voting by mail get their applications in and then turn in their ballot on time. And then everybody else, let's make sure that they take advantage of the expanded time for early voting. And we want to make sure that people are taking precautions, wearing their mask, and social distancing. So let's turn Texas blue. Let's make sure that we work hard to get Joe Biden and Kamala Harris elected.
Hello, this is Mayor Sylvester Turner, City of Houston. I just wanted to take a moment to thank you and say what an honor it has been to serve as your mayor over these last few years. Running and eventually becoming mayor of the fourth largest city, soon to be the third, has always been a dream that eventually became a reality. While growing up, my mom instilled in myself and my other 8 brothers and sisters that we can always be what we wanted to be. She reminded us that when things got tough, tomorrow would be better than today. I have taken this advice and continue to live it out. And I've also taken this advice over the last 3.5 years that we've had somebody else in the White House. Tomorrow would be better than today. As Houstonians, I know and have seen firsthand how generous, hospitable, and resilient this city can be. When we are knocked down, we know how to get back up, and we are stronger and even more resilient than ever. As Democrats, we are the same. We have been battle tested, and yet we continue to rise to the occasion, understanding that our best days, our better days, still lie in front of us. We have a lot more work to do, and I'm excited to think of how we can advance Harris County and our city and our state and our country over the next several years. This particular election, without question, is the most important election of our lifetime. I know we say it all the time, but this one is important. And quite frankly, I hope you feel like I do. This election is very personal. I fully understand that it will take all of us volunteering, calling, texting, using social media, calling our friends, neighbors, church members, and family members to remind them not only to register to vote, but to show up at the polls and to not come to the polls by oneself. In fact, take the time to encourage them to mail in their ballots and to do it early. This truly is a team effort, and we will only win if everyone does his or her part. The most precious resource in this election happens to be us and our time. Early voting in Texas starts in less than 8 weeks. The road to turn Texas blue runs directly.
Think about the day that dawns for children who are safer because of Bo, whose lives are fuller because of him. Think about the day that dawns for parents who rest easier and families who are freer because of him. Some folks may never know that their lives are better because of Bo Biden, but that's okay. Certainly for Bo, acclaim was never the point of public service.
If you knew Bo, you knew he lived by the strictest code of honor, duty, service, country. You never had to ask if he would do something the right way. He didn't know any other way.
Bo didn't cut corners. He turned down an appointment to be Delaware's Attorney General so he could win it fair and square. When the field was clear for him to run for the Senate, he chose to finish his job as AG instead. After 9/11, he joined the National Guard. He felt it was his obligation. He did his duty to his country and deployed to Iraq.
Bo Biden served his country in battle. He prosecuted one of the worst child predators in American history. And even though he is no longer with us, every day he still inspires the next president of the United States.
It won't be possible for me to be here this fall, so I have something to ask of you. Be there for my dad, like he was for me.
A couple of years ago, I was diagnosed with cancer, and I was absolutely terrified. One of the first people who called me was Joe. His real warmth and kindness on that call, man, I gotta say, it made me cry. Our current president has made me cry too, but it's never had anything to do with his warmth or kindness. Joe Biden's empathy is genuine. You can feel it. That's why President Obama asked Joe to head up the cancer moonshot. President Obama knows what we all know. Joe Biden understands suffering and loss and sacrifice. Mayor Pete Buttigieg also knows something about sacrifice. He volunteered and was deployed to Afghanistan, then returned home to Indiana to become a highly effective public servant. Say hi to Mayor Pete.
Hello, Harris County Democrats. In 2018, we shocked the nation, winning a race few thought we could win, and the timing couldn't have been better. We are standing tall against COVID-19, helping our community weather the pandemic and the impacts from it, putting people's lives first as our only North Star. With your help, we were able to flip the Commissioner's Court, and that has led to massive changes in the third largest county in our country, historic investments on voting, on environment, on public health, flood control, criminal justice reform, and so many other issues. We couldn't do this without you. We're doing so much in the face of animosity and difficulties from the state and federal levels. But I won't complain if you help us get different leadership there too. If you help us get Joe Biden in the White House, or dare I say, flip the state legislature, you can do that. As party activists, leaders, organizers, voters, You are the reason we've been able to make such positive changes. You are the reason we've been able to help improve the lives of millions of people. And we can do so much more, not just in Texas, not just in Harris County, but throughout the country with your help. I know we're all exhausted. The last thing we want is another thing on our to-do list. But before I go, I have to ask you for one more thing, and that is to volunteer for our Harris County Democratic Party. Go to harrisdemocrats.org and sign up. We need you. As November approaches, it is time to double down, to get whatever reserve energy we have left, and to fight for folks up and down the ballot that are going to help make an incredible difference as we rebuild from this virus. There's so much work left to be done, but I know we're up for it. Thank you for all you do, for all your support, and let's win this.
Good evening, Democrats. My name is Raul Rodriguez, Judge of Harris County Criminal Court, and for turning Harris County this November. With your help, we register to vote. 2, ballot, so make sure that you vote from top to bottom. With your, you can follow me on social media at Raul for Judge. Thank you.
Proudly supporting Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Joining fellow Democrats who were squaring off in competition just a few months ago. A number of us recently got together to talk about the Joe we know.
That ran in the tweeted off the island.
Smarter than you, and that's the obvious answer, right?
Hey, I'm memories of what he was like as a colleague in the Senate.
No one was watching. I was all alone, and I gave my speech with much vigor to a completely empty chamber. And I walked out of there, and I thought, I wonder if my mom was even watching this on C-SPAN. And at that moment, the cell phone rings, and I actually thought maybe my mom was watching it on C-SPAN. And you know who it was? It was Joe Biden. And that kind of goes to not only his kindness for calling me and being a mentor, but it also goes to how much he cares about our government and what people are saying, and that even when he's at home at night, he's watching and he cares.
But Amy, we all want to know, did your mother watch the speech?
I know.
You remember the steak fry when we were waiting to go on? It worked out to where I was there the same time he was. And he pulled me aside at one point and he pointed to somebody who we both knew who was working on my campaign, but he'd known from before. And let me know that was somebody who'd gone through a family tragedy that Joe somehow knew about. And just thought it was important for me to know that about someone who was working with me. And I thought, over time I realized that was just basic to who he is, but that always stuck with me.
Elizabeth, do you have any remembrances as well?
I think the day I saw Joe the clearest was on the 1-year anniversary of the Boston Marathon bombing. And everyone, of course, was enormously honored to have the vice president here. But at some point in that speech, he shifted to the parent who had lost a child, to the man who had lost a wife, to someone who had experienced loss very personally. And he spoke to each of the families from the heart.
That's phenomenal. I want to ask, what gets you excited about this idea of the inclusion of big ideas from all over the party into the future, into the next administration?
The magic of Joe Biden is that everything he does becomes the new reasonable. If he comes with an ambitious plan to address climate change, all of a sudden, everyone's going to follow his lead. You can see it with him choosing Kamala, too. He wants to build the best team. Let's do it together. That's how we're going to rebuild this country.
Corey, I'm so optimistic about our country right now, despite some very dark days for a lot of our fellow Americans, in large part because of what young people are doing right now. After the murder of Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, young people, by and large, led these protests, and they did so in the absolute best traditions of this country, in the tradition of John Lewis. My optimism and my faith in this country is reflected in those young people and the way that Joe and Kamala are listening to them and incorporating their ideas and their urgency into the campaign that they're running and the administration that they're going to lead.
And I often think some people say they don't know if they're going to vote or not. are saying that from, and maybe it's not a life or death issue for you, but we are all in this together.
Absolutely.
Corey, what I would say is that this is clearly the most important election in the modern history of this country. And Joe Biden, you have a human being who is empathetic, who is honest, who is decent. And at this particular moment in American history, my God, that is something that this country absolutely needs. And all of us, whether you're progressives, whether you're moderates or conservatives, have got to come together to defeat this president.
Thanks for that, Bernie. I want to thank you all for joining us for this segment. I mean this sincerely. It was an honor to run against you. And it is even a greater honor to stand with you in support of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
Good evening. I've never been much for partisan politics. I've supported Democrats, Republicans, and independents. Hell, I've actually been a Democrat, Republican, and independent. It's all about people. And the two people running for president couldn't be more different. One believes in facts, one does not. One listens to experts, the other thinks he knows everything. One looks forward and sees strength in America's diversity. The other looks backwards and sees immigrants as enemies and white supremacists as allies. Here's another difference. One has proven he knows how to handle a crisis by helping to lead the economic turnaround after the 2008 recession, while the other has not only failed to lead, he has made the current crisis much worse.
Hello, I'm Sylvia Garcia, your neighbor and Congresswoman. I just can't say enough about what an honor it has been to serve as a member of Congress for the Houston region. When I first ran in 1992, it was a dream I thought I would never reach. But with your help and that of a great Democratic Party and a hell of a lot of hard work, I am now in Congress. Who would think that a poor kid from the cotton fields of South Texas would be one of the first two Latinas to represent Texas in Congress? Only in our welcoming region, only in America. I fight every day for working families to ensure that they have the jobs, education, health care, and immigration status they need to keep their families together, and so that their children can achieve what their parents could only dream of. My first term in Congress has presented many challenges. Trump's shutdown, Trump's impeachment investigation, Trump's impeachment trial, the George Floyd murder, SPC Vanessa Guillen's disappearance and murder at Fort Hood, and of course, COVID-19. I have met those challenges head on and want to return to Congress to work with Biden-Harris to undo the damage Trump has done to our country and to our Constitution. We have a lot of work to do, but I'm excited to think of how we can build back better as we recover from COVID and restore our economy. I know we can do it, and with Biden-Harris in the White House, I know that my district, my county, and my state will not be left behind. This is without question the most important election in our lifetime. This truly is going to have to be a team effort, and it begins with each and every one of you. Please work every day till Election Day to make sure that the entire Democratic ticket is elected, and work hard as if your lives depend on it, because quite frankly, it does. While tonight we celebrate the nicest at the bottom of the ticket are the ones closest to home. It is those elected officials locally that get things done to make things work.
I believe that Democrats are the best. Democrats are the best when it comes to health care, because we want health care for all, not for the few. Democrats are the best when it comes to the economy. We want a living wage for every person who works full-time in our country. We're the best when it comes to criminal justice reform, because we want to make sure that everybody gets a fair shake when he or she goes before a judge. Democrats are the best, and the best Democrats for this presidential cycle are Biden and Harris. When we vote, if we vote for the best, we'll vote Democrats up and down the ticket. From the top to the bottom, Democrats are the best.
Hi, I'm State Representative Synfronia Thompson. I'm right out here in Northeast Houston. I'd like to talk to you a minute about how consequential this next election is. This one coming up we call a presidential election. We got 11 weeks in order to be able to get the vote out very strong. You know, back in 1973 when I went to the Texas legislature, there were about 8 women out of 181 in the Texas legislature. Now we have women and persons of all nationalities who make up the Texas legislature, and they make a great difference in our lives and the issues and things that they help us solve. We can get this vote out in a very, very large number by being sure that we volunteer, use our internet, our telephone, our text messages, and talk to people, not only our family members, but our friends, our sororities, our club members, everybody we know, because this election is going to depend on you and I getting the vote out and getting it out real big. We have to have health care solved and so many other issues that really affect the lives of people. And when we go and vote, we need to vote from the top of the ballot to the bottom and not leave one Democrat unvoted for. So make sure that you do the right thing by helping to volunteer to get the vote out and getting it out big. We can do this, you and I. Hi, I'm State Representative Synfronia Thompson.
A few months ago, I met him in New Hampshire. He told me that we were members of the same club. We stutter. It was really amazing to hear that someone like me became vice president. He told me about a book of poems by Yeats he would read out loud to practice. He showed me how he marks his addresses to make them easier to say out loud. So I did the same thing today. And now I'm here talking to you today about the future, about our future. My family often says when the world feels better before talking about something normal, like going to the movies. We all want the world to feel better. We need the world to feel better. I'm just a regular kid, and in a short amount of time, Joe Biden made me more confident about something that's bothered me my whole life. Joe Biden cared. Imagine what he could do for all of us. Kids like me are counting on you to elect someone we can all look up to. Someone who cares. Someone who will make our country and the world feel better. We're counting on you to elect Joe Biden.
The first time I met Joe, I was very new at my synagogue, and I had to do a funeral service and a shiva, and towards the end of the service, the door opens up, and this person who was much younger than these octogenarians who were there walked in the room. It was our U.S. Senator, Joe Biden. He was just very respectful, and he stayed in the back, and his head was bowed in reverence. And at the end, I said, Senator Biden, why are you here? Because how does a nice Irish Catholic boy know from Shiva? And what he said was just so lovely. He said, this dear lady gave $18 to my campaign from the very first time I started in 1972. So he wanted to show his respects by saying thank you. And that just blew me away.
I think you guys might have thought we were smaller.
Yeah. Granddaughter interview, take one.
No, this is good.
What don't I know about your grandfather?
He's always eating ice cream. Usually it's like vanilla with chocolate sprinkles. Vanilla on a regular night.
No, chocolate chip
and
chocolate and
The Breyers that have half chocolate, half vanilla. He likes ice cream in hidden ways.
Yeah. Eating it like in the freezer so that
He
like
eats
my
it
grandma
facing the
doesn't
freezer.
see. He like hides it.
How often does he call you?
Like every day.
Yeah, every day.
Like if we don't talk to him for like a day,
He'll
ask what's wrong.
Yeah, he'll think we're like not a lot.
He always calls with the same energy, even after he's just done 15 interviews in a row. Hi, Pop. I was just talking about you.
I don't necessarily pick up every day, but I have a lot of voicemails. He will pick up our calls no matter where he is. He'd be like on stage giving a speech, and we'd call him and he'd be like, "What's wrong? Is everything good?" And we'd be like,
Just
no.
calling to check in. Yeah.
What does the word family mean to you?
It's a lot of time together. It's like
Yeah, I don't
we've
really know
we've
many
grown
other-
up together. He's made sure that every single tradition, every holiday, we're all together. I don't think that there's been any decision, no matter how big or small, that we haven't decided as a family.
Pop told us that this election would be totally different from any other election ever.
He was worried how it would affect his kids.
Whether or not we wanted to go through another campaign and be scrutinized by the press.
There had been talks of a big meeting coming.
It's normally called by the parents, I would say, but this time it was called by me. I came down from Penn, and Maisie came up from DC, and my cousins lived down the road. He thought we were calling a meeting sort of to like discuss, whether or not we wanted him to, but really we were calling it to be like, get in that race, hurry up.
We just knew that he had to run, and we weren't gonna take no as an answer.
At the end of the day, I think we're all very happy we had that meeting.
All right, well, when you get back there, give me a call to tell me how the whole thing went, okay?
Okay, I will.
I love you, baby.
I love you too.
We want to ensure that our kids live in a nation that is safe, happy, healthy, and fair. And so this election,
we're voting for Joe Biden. Let's have a conversation with these kids.
Let's do it.
So, let's jump right in, shall we?
What does jump in mean?
Go for it.
Mommy, I can't be quiet.
Why?
Because.
I don't want you to be quiet. You deserve to speak and say whatever it is that comes to your mind in this moment right now.
every election is important. This upcoming election is especially important. One, because the social injustices right now, racial inequality, but also because we have children.
Excuse me, Mommy?
Yes?
I need to go to the bathroom.
Okay.
You want to go right now? Do you know where the president lives?
In the White House, Washington, D.C.
Do you know what the president's job is?
To tell what happened to the world?
That's good. That's a good one.
Keep the environment safe.
That is correct. As we say, that is.
If you could create the ideal person to lead this country, what characteristics would that person have?
A very kind personality.
What would you like to see taken care of?
I would like to see them taking care of the earth and the people.
So, girls, it is 2020 and the election is coming up in November. Do you know who is running for president?
Joe Biden.
Yeah.
And...
Exactly, that's it. This video's over.
What would you say if you knew that Joe Biden was going to have a woman as his vice president?
Surprised and like happy.
Why?
There's like not a lot of like women being president and helping alongside the president.
Mm-hmm. How important do you think your faith is in the way that you live your life?
Really big, because I'm grateful for all the things that I have and that I love my family.
And with that said, everyone, we really thank you, one, for listening to this very candid conversation with our daughters. And we just want to encourage you to truly do your research, think about your own homes and what you'd like to see projected out into the world in the right direction is making sure that you vote this election for Biden. Whatever you do, please vote. Every vote counts. Just remember that. You gonna dance out?
Here's the big question. How much of your time and energy are you willing to devote to elect Joe Biden? Here's my answer. I'm going all in. Look, elections can break your heart, but sometimes they can make you sing from the mountaintops. And this year, we're gonna sing. This year, we're going to elect a president who's honest, experienced, and intelligent. A president who actually believes in the rule of law, who will restore dignity and normalcy to the White House and the soul of this nation. And boy, won't that be something? One of my favorite things Joe Biden says is that you can succeed in life without sacrificing your ideals or your commitment to family. So, who better to introduce our nominee, Joe Biden, than his children?
I'm Hunter Biden.
And I'm Ashley Biden.
Joe Biden is our dad.
And Beau is our brother.
We want to tell you what kind of president our dad will be.
He will be tough,
and honest,
caring, and principled.
He'll listen. He'll be there when you need him.
He'll tell you the truth even when you don't want to hear it.
He'll never let you down.
He'll be rock steady.
The strongest shoulder you can ever lean on.
He'll beam with pride every time you succeed.
He'll make your grandkids feel that what they've got to say matters.
He'll treat everyone with respect, no matter who you are.
He'll get up no matter how many times he's been knocked down.
He'll be the worst enemy any bully ever saw.
He'll be the best friend you've ever had.
He'll love you with all of his heart.
And if you give him your cell phone number,
he's going to call it.
How do we know?
Because he's been that way our whole lives.
He's been a great father.
And we think he'll be a great president.
Beau isn't with us any longer.
But he is still very much alive in our hearts. And we can still hear his strong voice.
Just like it was yesterday.
Just like it was yesterday.
In 2008 and 2012, he introduced our dad at those conventions.
And if he was here, we're pretty sure we'd know what he'd say.
So before we show you a film about our dad's journey, we wanted to give Beau the last word. Beau?
Beau, take it away.
In moments both public and private, he's the father I've always known, the grandfather my children love and adore, my father, my hero, Joe Biden.
Our lives have been turned upside down, shattered and shaken. But the American story has had moments like this before. And he was there, answering the call.
When we came into office in 2009, we were going through what was then the worst financial and economic crisis since the Great Depression.
The economy was hemorrhaging hundreds of thousands of jobs a week. People were losing their homes to foreclosure. The financial system was in tatters. Auto sales had dropped to near zero levels.
The auto companies faced bankruptcy, and many said, let them fail. But Joe remembered his father and what it meant to lose a job. The Finnegans and Bidens were Irish Catholic. Joe was their first. And then his sister Valerie.
Was family and family and family.
Joe's father struggled to find work in Scranton. But 140 miles south, there was a job cleaning boilers in Wilmington.
There was a long stairway up to the second floor. Dad went up to Joey in our bedroom and saying, Joey, you gotta be a big boy.
For the first time, Joe saw the heavy burden on a father, and it was a lesson he would never forget.
The job is a lot more than a paycheck. It's about dignity.
The country was losing tens of thousands of jobs a day, and they needed 3 votes to pass the economic rescue package.
Joe Biden was handled the task of going to get those 3 Republican votes.
Joe returned to the place where he had been so effective.
Passionate argument, sympathetic listening, a willingness to make adjustments and accommodations to bring people on board.
When the law finally passed, the president tapped his partner to run the program. Joe tracked every dollar, calling mayors and governors.
Talking to them on the phone, one-on-one. He gave all of them his cell phone.
And I watched him bring his heart to that job. It matters that you have in your mind the family that you're trying to reach, the neighborhood that you're trying to reach, the people whose lives are affected by what you do.
The skills that had made him so effective had not come easy. When he entered school, there was a problem. Joe had a stutter.
And it's mortifying. It allows that child to become an object of ridicule.
When his teacher mimicked him and Joe ran home from school, his mother drove him back.
Did you say to my son, Mr. Biden? The nun said, I was just trying to make a point. My mother stood up, all 5'2" of her. If you ever talk to my son like that again, I'll come back and rip that damn bonnet off your head. Do you understand me? Joey, go back to class.
Joe resolved to overcome his stutter.
Some letters are harder than others. And I used to get up at night and go stand in front of the mirror with a flashlight and practice. She'd make me look her in the eye. Look at me. Remember, Joey, you're the smartest boy in that class. Nobody's better than you, Joey. From having to deal with stuttering, it gave me insight into other people's pain, other people's suffering.
At 19, Joe sought out a summer job that few of his peers considered taking.
He was a lifeguard along with the black lifeguards. That's when I first seen Joe, and we became friends.
It was one of the best things I've ever done because it gave me a sense that we really didn't know one another.
After Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated, riots broke out in Wilmington, and the National Guard stayed for almost a year.
I quit the law firm and asked for a job to become a public defender. That's what sort of got me involved in politics.
J. Caleb Boggs was a popular war hero in a solidly Republican state, and few took Joe's campaign seriously.
In Delaware, the Democratic Party was non-functional. When it got time to put up a candidate, they didn't want to touch it. This young upstart, Joe Biden, who had a lot of ideas and no money, no influence, the party said, okay, well then go ahead, Biden, give it a whirl.
That's all I can ask. Just look, if you like what you see, help me out. If not, vote for the other fellow. But look me over if you would.
You know, we'd have a coffee, and we'd come out of that, we'd have 5 more coffees. He was very articulate on the issues. He brought people to say, not just that, well, I agree with what you're doing, is, you know, what can I do to help?
Delaware is the first state. J. Caleb Boggs, who is the incumbent Republican, being challenged by Joseph Biden. Biden is a Democrat who's 29 years of age.
But exhilaration soon turned to tragedy.
I mean, it was clear he had decided that I'm not going to be a senator, that the boys need me too much.
I was prepared to walk away in 1973. But men like Ted Kennedy and Mike Mansfield and Hubert Humphrey and Fritz Hollings, Danny Inouye, they convinced me to stay. Just stay 6 months, Joe. Remember, Danny? Just stay 6 months.
He couldn't allow the suffering to debilitate him. Just like he couldn't allow the stuttering to define him. That's the backbone. There's something bigger than Joe's suffering,
The Senate turned out to be a wonderful place for him. He had a real gift for bringing people together.
The three of them had a bond that was
forward circle of trust.
And then the extra gift of Ashley.
Growing up, it was full of adventure, laughter.
We do everything as a family, and we've always done everything as a family.
He was always a good, loving father. I mean, there's nothing more important to Joe than his children.
It's hard to explain how ever-present he was in our lives.
You don't have to guess what my dad believes. A great benefit of being my father is that he doesn't have to contort himself into different people at different times.
Bo was going to do fine things. I mean, he had it all. And then he got sick. The whole world tilted. And it felt like we were all falling off.
Once again, Joe faced the unimaginable.
My mother, she said, bravery resides in every heart, and someday it will be summoned.
The way he survived losing my mom and my sister, and then losing my brother, is understanding that you have to have a purpose.
Every day I get up, I ask myself, I hope he's proud of me, because that's the thing that makes me move on.
From his time in the Senate and then the White House, Joe always found a way forward, forging unlikely friendships and alliances. And time after time, he made progress possible, and always holding in his heart the struggles of his family and every family, always fighting to make his country whole.
It's a very rare quality to bring your empathy skills to the process of governing. Joe Biden never forgets that that's the point of moving the wheels of government.
He will keep his word. He will reach out and hear what other people have to say.
To have somebody who believes in what's best in us, somebody like Joe Biden who actually believes in the American idea, that's the kind of person who I want in the White House.
Good evening. Ella Baker, a giant of the civil rights movement, left us with this wisdom: give people light, and they will find the way. Give people light. Those are words for our time. The current president has cloaked American darkness for much too long. Too much anger, too much fear, too much division. Here and now, I give you my word. If you entrust me with the presidency, I will draw on the best of us, not the worst. I'll be an ally of the light, not the darkness. It's time for us, for we the people, to come together and make no mistake. Choose hope over fear, facts over fiction, fairness over privilege. I'm a proud Democrat, and I'll be proud to carry the banner of our party into the General States of America. But while I'll be a Democratic candidate, I will be an American president. That's the job of a president, to represent all of us, not just our base or our party. This is not a partisan moment. This must be an American moment and love for one another. America isn't just a collection of clashing interests of red states or blue states. We're so much bigger than that. Pledged a New Deal in a time of massive unemployment prevail, and he believed America could as well. And he did, and we can as well. This campaign isn't just about winning votes. It's about winning the heart and, yes, the soul of America. Winning it for the generous among us, not the selfish. Winning it for workers who keep this country going, not just the privileged few at the top. Winning it for those communities who have known the injustice of a knee on the neck and shrinking opportunity. They deserve the experience of America's promise. They deserve to experience it in full. You know, no generation ever knows what history will ask of it. All we can ever know is whether we're ready when that moment arrives. And now history has delivered us to one of the most difficult moments America's ever faced. Four historic crises, all at the same time. A perfect storm. The worst pandemic in over 100 years. The worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. The most compelling call for racial justice since the 60s. And the undeniable realities and just the accelerating threats of climate change. So the question for us is simple. Are we ready? I believe we are. We must be. You know, all elections are important. But we know in our bones this one is more consequential. As many have said, America is at an inflection point. A time of real peril, but also of extraordinary possibilities. We can choose a path of becoming angrier, less hopeful, more divided, a path of shadow and suspicion, or we can choose a different path and together take this chance to heal, to reform, to unite, a path of hope and light. This is a life-changing election. This will determine what America is going to look like for a long, long time. Character is on the ballot. Compassion is on the ballot. Decency, science, democracy, they're all on the ballot. Who we are as a nation, what we stand for, and most importantly, who we want to be, that's all on the ballot. And the choice could not be more clear. No rhetoric is needed. Just judge this president on the facts. 5 million Americans infected by COVID-19. More than 170,000 Americans have died. By far the worst performance of any nation on earth. More than 50 million people have filed for unemployment this year. More than 10 million people are going to lose their health insurance this year. Nearly 1 in 6 small businesses have closed this year. And this president, if he's reelected, you know what will happen. Cases and deaths will remain far too high. More mom and pop businesses will close their doors, and this time for good. Working families will struggle to get by. And yet the wealthiest 1% will get tens of billions of dollars in new tax breaks. And the assault on the Affordable Care Act will continue until it's destroyed, taking insurance away from more than 20 million people, including more than 15 million people on Medicaid, and getting rid of the protections that President Obama worked so hard to get passed for people who have 100 million more people who have pre-existing conditions. And speaking of President Obama, a man I was honored to serve alongside for 8 years as vice president, let me take this moment to say something we don't say nearly enough. Thank you, Mr. President. You were a great president, a president our children could and did look up to. No one's going to say that about the current occupant of the White House. What we know about this president is if he's given 4 more years, he'll be what he's been for the last 4 years. A president who takes no responsibility, refuses to lead, blames others, cozies up to dictators, and fans the flames of hate and division. He'll wake up every day believing the job is all about him, never about you. Is that the American you want for you, your family, your children? I see a different America, one that's generous and strong, selfless and humble. It's an America we can rebuild together. As president, the first step I will take will be to get control of the virus that has ruined so many lives. Because I understand something this president hasn't from the beginning. We will never get our economy back on track. We will never get our kids safely back in schools. We'll never have our lives back until we deal with this virus. The tragedy of where we are today is it didn't have to be this bad. Just look around. It's not this bad in Canada or Europe or Japan or almost anywhere else in the world. And the president keeps telling us the virus is going to disappear. He keeps waiting for a miracle. Well, I have news for him. No miracle is coming. We lead the world in confirmed cases. We lead the world in deaths. Our economy is in tatters, with Black, Latino, Asian American, Native American communities bearing the brunt of it. And after all this time, the president still does not have a plan. Well, I do. If I'm your president, on day one, we'll implement the national strategy I've been laying out since March. We'll develop and deploy rapid tests with results available immediately. We'll make the medical supplies and protective equipment that our country needs. And we'll make them here in America, so we will never again be at the mercy of China or other foreign countries in order to protect our own people. We'll make sure our schools have the resources they need to be open, safe, and effective. We'll put politics aside. We'll take the muzzle off our experts so the public gets the information they need and deserve. Honest, unvarnished truth. They can handle it. We'll have a national mandate to wear masks, not as a burden, but as a patriotic duty to protect one another. In short, we'll do what we should have done from the very beginning. Our current president has failed in his most basic duty to the nation. He's failed to protect us. He's failed to protect America. And my fellow Americans, that is unforgivable. As president, I'll make you a promise. I'll protect America. I will defend us from every attack, seen and unseen, always, without exception, every time. Look, I understand. I understand how hard it is to have any hope right now. On this summer night, let me take a moment to speak to those of you who have lost the most. I have some idea how it feels to lose someone you love. I know that deep black hole that opens up in the middle of your chest and you feel like you're being sucked into it. I know how mean and cruel and unfair life can be sometimes. But I've learned two things. First, your loved one may have left this earth, but they'll never leave your heart. They'll always be with you. You'll always hear them. And second, I found the best way through pain and loss and grief is to find purpose. As God's children, each of us have a purpose in our lives. We have a great purpose as a nation to open the doors of opportunity to all Americans, to save our democracy, to be a light to the world once again, and finally to live up to and make real the words written in the sacred documents that founded this nation, that all men and women are created equal, endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, among them life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You know, my dad was an honorable, decent man. He got knocked down a few times pretty hard, but he always got back up. He worked hard, and he built a great middle-class life for our family. He used to say, Joey, I don't expect the government to solve my problems, but I sure in hell expect them to understand them. And then he'd say, Joey, a job is about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's about respect. It's about your place in the community. It's about being able to look your kid in the eye and say, honey, it's going to be okay, and mean it. I've never forgotten those lessons. That's why my economic plan is all about jobs, dignity, respect, and community. Together we can and will rebuild our economy. And when we do, we'll not only build back, we'll build back better. With modern roads, bridges, highways, broadband, ports and airports as a new foundation for economic growth, with pipes that transport clean water to every community, with 5 million new manufacturing and technology jobs, so the future is made in America. With a healthcare system that lowers premiums, deductibles,
drug prices, by building on the Affordable Care Act he's trying to rip away, with an education system that trains our people for the best jobs of the 21st century. There's not a single thing American workers can't do. And where cost doesn't prevent young people from going to college and student debt doesn't crush them when they get out. With a child care and elder care system that makes it possible for parents to go to work and for the elderly to stay in their homes with dignity. With an immigration system that powers our economy and reflects our values. And with newly empowered labor unions. They're the ones that built the middle class. With equal pay for women, with rising wages you can raise a child on, a family on. And yes, we're going to do more than praise our essential workers. We're finally going to pay them. Pay them. We can and we will deal with climate change. It's not only a crisis, it's an enormous opportunity. An opportunity for America to lead the world in clean energy and create millions of new, good-paying jobs in the process. And we can pay for these investments by ending loopholes, unnecessary loopholes, and the president's $1.3 trillion tax giveaway to the wealthiest 1% and the biggest, most profitable corporations, some of which do not pay any tax at all. Because we don't need a tax code that rewards wealth more than it rewards work. I'm not looking to punish anyone. Far from it. But it's long past time the wealthiest people and the biggest corporations in this country paid their fair share. And for our seniors, Social Security is a sacred obligation, a sacred promise made. They paid for. The current president is threatening to break that promise. He's proposing to eliminate a tax that pays for almost half the Social Security without any way of making up for that lost revenue, resulting in cuts. I will not let that happen. If I'm your president, we're going to protect Social Security and Medicare. You have my word. One of the most powerful voices we hear in the country today is from our young people. They're speaking to the inequity and injustice that has grown up in America. Economic injustice, racial injustice, environmental injustice. I hear their voices. If you listen, you can hear them too. And whether it's the existential threat posed by climate change, the daily fear of being gunned down in school, or the inability to get started in your first job, it will be the work of the next president to restore the promise of America to everyone. And I'm not going to have to do it alone, because I'll have a great vice president at my side. Senator Kamala Harris. She's a powerful voice for this nation. Her story is the American story. She knows about all the obstacles thrown in the way of so many in our country. Women, black Americans, South Asian Americans, immigrants, the left out and the left behind. But she's overcome every obstacle she's ever faced. No one's been tougher on the big banks and the gun lobby. No one's been tougher in calling out the current administration for its extremism, its failure to follow the law, its failure to simply tell the truth. Kamala and I both draw from our families. That's where we get our strength. For Kamala, it's Doug and their families. For me, it's Jill and ours. I've said many times, no man deserves one great love in his life, let alone two. But I've known two. After losing my first wife in that car accident, Jill came into my life. She put our family back together. She's an educator, a mom, a military mom, and an unstoppable force. If she puts her mind to it, just get out of the way. She's going to get it done. She was a great second lady, and I know she'll make a great first lady for this nation. She loves this country so much. And I'll always have the strength that can only come from family. Hunter, Ashley, all our grandchildren, my brothers, my sister. They give me courage. They lift me up. While he's no longer with us, Bo inspires me every day. Bo served our nation in uniform. A year in Iraq, a decorated Iraqi war veteran. So I take very personally the profound responsibility of serving as Commander-in-Chief. I'll be a president who will stand with our allies and friends and make it clear to our adversaries the days of cozying up to dictators is over. Under President Biden, America will not turn a blind eye to Russian bounties on the heads of American soldiers. Nor will I put up with foreign interference in our most sacred democratic exercise, voting. And I'll always stand for our values of human rights and dignity. I'll work in common purpose for a more secure, peaceful, and prosperous world. History has thrust one more urgent task on us. Will we be the generation that finally wipes out the stain of racism from our national character? I believe we're up to it. I believe we're ready. Just a week ago yesterday was the 3rd anniversary of the events in Charlottesville. Close your eyes. Remember what you saw on television. Remember seeing those neo-Nazis and Klansmen and white supremacists coming out of fields with lighted torches, veins bulging, spewing the same anti-Semitic bile heard across Europe in the 30s. Remember the violent clash that ensued between those spreading hate and those with the courage to stand against it. And remember what the president said when asked? He said there were, quote, very fine people on both sides. It was a wake-up call for us as a country, and for me, a call to action. At that moment, I knew I'd have to run, because my father taught us that silence was complicity, and I could never remain silent or complicit. At the time, I said we're in the battle for the soul of this nation. And we are. You know, one of the most important conversations I've had this entire campaign, it was with someone who was much too young to vote. I met with 6-year-old Gianna Floyd the day before her daddy, George Floyd, was laid to rest. She's an incredibly brave little girl. And I'll never forget it. When I leaned down to speak to her, she looked in my eyes and she said, and I quote, "Daddy changed the world. Daddy changed the world." Her words burrowed deep into my heart. Maybe George Floyd's murder was a breaking point. Maybe John Lewis's passing the inspiration. But however it's come to be, however it's happened, America's ready, in John's words, to lay down, quote, the heavy burden of hate at last, and to end the hard work of rooting out our systemic racism. You know, American history tells us that it's been in our darkest moments that we've made our greatest progress, that we found the light. In this dark moment, I believe we're poised to make great progress again, that we can find the light once more. You know, many people have heard me say this, but I've always believed you can define America in one word: possibilities. The defining feature of America: everything is possible. That in America, everyone, and I mean everyone, should be given an opportunity to go as far as their dreams and God-given ability will take them. We can never lose that. In times as challenging as these, I believe there's only one way forward. As a united America, united in our pursuit of a more perfect union, united in our dreams of a better future for us and for our children, united in our determination to make the coming years bright. Are you ready? I believe we are. This is a great nation. We're a good and decent people. For the Lord's sake, this is the United States of America. And there's never been anything we've been able to accomplish when we've done it together. The Irish poet Seamus Heaney once wrote, "History says, don't hope on this side of the grave, but then, once in a lifetime, the longed-for tidal wave of justice can rise up and hope and history rhyme." This is our moment to make hope and history rhyme. With passion and purpose, let us begin, you and I together, one nation, under God, united in our love for America, united in our love for each other. For love is more powerful than hate, hope is more powerful than fear, and light is more powerful than dark. This is our moment. This is our mission. May history be able to say that the end of this chapter of American darkness began here tonight, as love and hope and light join in the battle for the soul of the nation. And this is a battle we will win, and we'll do it together. I promise you. Thank you, and may God bless you, and may God protect our troops.
Thank you for coming to our event tonight and supporting the Harris County Democratic Party. We need Democrats like you to get involved in the party and volunteer to make sure that when early vote starts in just under 2 months, that we call and contact every Democrat in Harris County to make sure that every Democrat comes out and votes for all the amazing Democratic candidates that are on the ballot. We're going to need everyone to vote like their life depends on it this election, and we need you to help us get the job done. Thank you, and I hope you had a good night. Be safe.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for coming out tonight. We had such a great time celebrating this. Don't forget to turn your headlights on. You're going to be wanting to go out this direction. It's in reverse, that direction, to head out the opposite way you came in. Thank you guys so much. We really had a good time. I hope you guys had a good time too. Don't forget, we have a lot of phone calls to make. We got a lot of we got a lot of texts to send. We got a lot of postcards to send. Go to harrisdemocrats.org. Get involved. Be part of this. You see what we're up against. If you're not inspired tonight, then I don't know what to tell you. We got a lot of work to do. Thank you guys so much for coming. Bye.